Well, welcome back. The question of the day, did they jump? This is Charlie Pankey's here, Rick Now Podcast, and you want to stick around today. We are going climbing near Lake Tahoe today. My guest with over 30 years of experience of rock climbing in the region, and we are going to be focusing on Lover's Leap today. I want to welcome Petch. Petch, I'm going to have you introduce yourself because I can't pronounce your last name, sir. I apologize.
Yeah, not a problem. I go by Petch. My last name is Pietrolungo. My real name is Mark, but we were the Petcholongas because no one could pronounce our last name. So that's where Petch comes from.
I love it.
The last name. I live here in Strawberry, right across the road from Lover's Leap, about 20 miles west of South Lake Tahoe.
Perfect. And if you guys kind of know Strawberry, South Lake Tahoe, we're talking about Highway 50 here. There's a route that comes up. If you're coming up out of Sacramento, you're going to see the big Horsetail Waterfalls, Desolation Wilderness up on the left-hand side, and on the right side is Lover's Leap. And it's a gigantic, gorgeous rock. Sits there like it's just begging to be climbed. And I've lived here, 18 years now. I've never climbed it. I have driven up next to it. My kids got married to Strawberry Lodge, actually. So I've been around there. But I found you guys online. It looks like you guys are having a blast climbing in the area. I didn't realize that you've been around for 20, 30 years in the area climbing. Can you maybe tell a little bit of your story and where the climbing comes from?
Sure. Well, I started climbing my last year of high school when I was 18. Fell in love with it right away. I was a surfer before that, and I grew up in Southern California. So I was getting a little burned out in the Southern California surf scene. Someone asked if I wanted to go climbing, and I was instantly hooked. Then I moved up to the far reaches of Northern California and went to school at Humboldt State. Didn't finish. I was climbing too much, having too much of a good time. So, like any good climber does when all of a sudden they find themselves unemployed. And our last spot we stopped at was here at Lover's Leap, and that was in 1993. And then you mentioned Strawberry Lodge. So I was broke and I worked in 8 months. I got a job at Strawberry Lodge.
Gotcha.
Digging ditches, and eventually became a bartender. So when did your son get married there?
It would have been, 4 years ago now, I think.
Oh, okay. So,
4 years ago, just before the fire.
Okay.
The date on that. So.
Okay. So, I worked there from 93 to 2006 as a bartender. So I did a lot of weddings there, but not your son's.
Gotcha. Exactly. Very good. Well, I had to do a little research because I'm not a climber per se, although I have nothing against climbing. I just haven't roped myself into a rock. I've climbed plenty of passes when I'm hiking and stuff, and
sure,
over rock fields. But when I started doing a little research on Lover's Leap, I was actually I kind of surprised how well known it was. It's got a lot of history to it. Can you maybe explain to people what climbing like a rock like Lover's Leap is about? Is it a multi-pitch? Is it all cracks? And what is it about Lover's Leap that's so special?
Well, sure. It is a famous area. It is a world-class area. So we get people from all that good. I like to say if it was in Yosemite, it would probably be one of the busiest cliffs there because it's that good. What makes it unique is there's these horizontal dikes that run across the faces. So even the walls are really steep. It's really climbable. In some places, it's like climbing a ladder. So for how steep it is, a lot of the climbing tends to be moderate, so it brings a lot of crowds here, especially on the weekends. It is multi-pitch climbing. Routes range from 300 to 600 feet in length.
Okay.
And a good variety from 5.5 on the Yosemite decimal scale all the way up to really hard at 5.14 and everything in between.
Right, okay.
It's got something for everyone.
Yeah, the climbing scale, 5.5, is that kind of like a beginner level, or is that
exactly?
Okay.
Yeah,
perfect. And so you're taking guests up. It looks like you guys have a crew of climbers, but you have to take guests up every day or a couple times a week.
Sometimes it feels like every day.
Okay.
I have about 5 guides that work for me. I have a great diverse crew, and they're good friends, great climbers. Cool. Have a really deep appreciation for the area. So
is there a lot of different routes up the rock? Like, is there a lot of can you go multiple times? And
yeah. There's lots of different routes. There's couple hundred probably.
Wow. Okay.
And then there's a smaller formation in front of Lover's Leap. It kind of looks like it's a smaller dome. Kind of
Yep.
looks like a Hershey's Kiss in ways.
Yeah.
And that's called Hogsback, and that has a lot of like not a steep climbs. Good place for people who have never climbed before. We can take them up a multi-pitch climb, so it's pretty special. Like I can take a person who's never climbed before up a 300-foot climb, and so they feel like they've accomplished something instead of doing just short little 60, 80-foot top ropes. They get to do a
Yeah.
300-foot
300
climb.
feet. That sounds like quite the challenge for me. I'm going. I mean, I climb it when I'm hiking, but to go straight up a face. You're like, how long does that take, energy wise, for somebody that's a beginner to climb?
Like a couple hours.
Okay.
I mean, of climbing. Yeah, but you only go up a ways, and you stop, and you do it in sections. And of course, there's ground school where we have to teach people how to belay and the belay commands and how to take out gear and what to do, how to move on rocks. So, we have a half day that lasts 4 hours, but you get a 300-foot climb in and sometimes a 100-foot rappel. So it's
Oh,
pretty
that's
fun.
fun.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
fun. What do you think a new beginner's favorite part is? Do they like the climbing better or the rappel better?
Um, Usually the climbing, but there are some people who like the rappels.
Yeah. you
I
ever,
mean, it's
ever,
always fun, but like, there's not a whole lot of skill involved. Climbing's all skill and all
yeah.
thrill. Um, but
I've done plenty of walls, the wall climbing things, and it always every time I'm there, seeing somebody gets stuck on top, they're afraid to rappel off, even though the machines.
sure, yeah, yeah. No, it's something like when you're climbing up, you're just trusting yourself, and then all of a sudden you gotta let go, and you're just like, whoa.
How do I do that, right?
Yeah.
I
So.
now I think I saw on your guys' website and want to make sure we shout that out. It's loversleap.net, correct? Or
Yep.
Lovers
Yep.
Leap. Yeah, okay. Uh, you guys are doing some other climbs in the area too. There's a Spires climb, and
Yeah. So there's Phantom Spires.
okay,
What's really special about this canyon from Echo Summit, where the Pacific Coast Trail runs through Echo Lakes
yep,
down to Kybers, um, the rock in that 20 miles, it's all granite, but it's all quite different. Like up at Echo Lakes, we don't guide there, but we climb up there.
yeah,
You have more of a high country golden granite. Lover's Leap, we have the dikes like I talked about.
mm-hmm.
Phantom Spires, which is off of the Wrights Lake Road, which brings
Okay, I
you
noticed
up.
that. Yep.
Yeah. So as you're driving up the Wrights Lake Road, off to the left, there's those wild looking spires. Now that's mostly single pitch climbing, but what makes that place unique is it has giant chicken heads or knobs. They call them chicken heads because
Okay.
there's these like diorite knobs that stick out, and so you're grabbing these bowling balls. Sometimes they're really big, and sometimes you tie them off for protection. And then another 10 miles down from Strawberry is in Kybers is Sugarloaf.
Okay.
Uh, you see it as you're driving up the
I,
highway. It's up
I
and to the
know I
left.
know which rock you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah,
know
so
Sugarloaf. Yeah.
that rock is like reminiscent of Yosemite Valley, like Lower Merced Canyon. So it's
Okay.
totally different than all those areas. And we also guide there, and that's our wintertime area because it's at a lower elevation.
That makes sense. So you guys are able to climb most of the year, unless it's really bad snow year.
Yeah, exactly. Like, 2 years ago when we had that really huge winter, we were
Mm-hmm.
shut down. But this last winter, we guided throughout the winter, and it can be really nice there in Sugarloaf.
That's
And then we
that's
also
cool.
obtained a new permit just this last year, a place called Calaveras Dome. It's off of Highway 88, where
Oh,
Salt
really?
Springs Reservoir is. It's kind of,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So
That's
it's a
way
big
back there.
fishing. It's a big fishing spot. There's some trails that leave there,
Yeah.
but Calaveras Dome's 12 to 1,400 foot tall dome right there. So it's a
Oh
pretty
wow. See,
famous.
I was just reading a book that was talking about the blue hole back there behind the reservoir. So I haven't been back there yet, but it's on my target list now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the blue hole all about? I haven't heard.
It's, you have to paddle across the reservoir and up the river. There's these old salt bowls that Indians used to get salt out of that have now filled up
Okay,
with really clear blue water. It's supposed to be really pretty.
interesting. I wondered why they called it Salt Springs. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It comes
yeah.
from. Speaking of Indian legends, now I did just a little enough research. There is a legend that an Indian couple jumped off Lover's Leap. That's how it got its name. Can you confirm that legend?
Well, I wasn't around, but like, yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of stories. Yeah, it's sort of like a Romeo and Juliet story, where two Native Americans from different tribes fell in love. The chiefs of the tribe said no, and then they jumped. And then one version I read or heard, they turned into eagles and flew away. I like that one
See,
better.
that's the version I heard. That's the version the
Yeah,
Forest Service tells when I go to volunteer work at
yeah.
Desolation, I think.
And then, for quite a while, we had golden eagles that nested on a formation here, and it's actually called Eagle Buttress. They nested there for years. But with the comeback of the peregrine falcons,
Yep,
the
yep.
falcons came and chased them away, and so now we have falcons. We still see the eagles flying around, but they don't nest on Lover's Leap anymore.
Now that's fascinating to me because that's something that has happened in the Tahoe Basin. Probably, I'd say just over the last 10 to 15 years, that the Falcons really have made a comeback.
Yeah,
Because I know up on Castle Peak on the South Shore, they have nesting pairs up there as
yeah,
well. Do they
yeah.
shut down the rock then for you guys for nesting season?
Yeah, a portion of it.
Yeah, portion. Okay.
Yeah, just kind of the middle section, and Lover's Leap guides. Myself and one of my other guides, we kind of like communicate with the Forest Service on where the birds are nesting, because they switch a little bit every year.
Move a different
Like
lens
this
or
year,
whatever.
they're a
So
little to the right than where they were last year, so we give them recommendations on closures and whatnot. And it's been working out really good. We have a really good relationship with the service, especially when it
that's
comes.
really cool.
Yeah.
I actually before I actually had found them on the rock up here in South Lake Tahoe, and we kind of crawled out. I didn't know what they were, and then all of a sudden, so I had to go home and study with peregrine falcons and how they use ledges and rocks and cliffs.
Right.
What a unique experience here in Tahoe
Oh yeah.
that we should really not go look for because when they're nesting, we need to leave them alone. But it's
Sure.
really cool to have them around, right? So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, they're fun to watch, and their chicks just fledged a week or so ago, and
okay.
so they're out there flying. Like the parents are teaching them, and they're diving and squawking. They were flying by us. It was pretty neat.
That's
I had
neat.
a lady out. It was pretty fantastic to watch. So
I'm one of the fans of the Bear Valley Eagles. You need to get the camera out there for next year, and we'll catch
uh,
that, and you guys go wild.
right, yeah, yeah.
That's
I've heard about the Eagles. They have a big following.
a huge following, huge following. It's pretty cool to watch because they just
Yeah.
fledged as well. But so when you got into rock climbing and you landed in the Tahoe Basin, was Lover's Leap one of the first things that you fell in love with climbing in the area too, or were there other rocks in the area that climbers just gravitate to, and you landed there because you worked at Strawberry? So
Well, the climbing trip, we just decided to go check out Lover's Leap. We had heard about
okay,
it. So we pulled on in. The campground was free. We grabbed a campsite, met some great people, liked the climbing. The lodge was just hiring to do that addition above the ballroom. So
yep,
yeah, I got a job digging ditches for $5 an hour, and
God,
then
yeah.
they liked me. They offered me housing, and winter came along. They needed a bartender. So.
Isn't that the story of so many great stories in Tahoe? They move here to ski or hike or work
Yeah,
in the wilderness
exactly.
and do
Yeah.
whatever they can to survive.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
As far as climbing in the Sierra, do you get out yourself? This is a personal question. Get out and go climbing. Are you a Yosemite guy once a year? And are there places that
Yeah,
you just love to climb?
actually, my lady Heidi and we just went to Tuolumne Meadows for 2 days. We got back late last night, so we climbed on Fairview Dome, which is the biggest dome in Tuolumne
Yeah.
Meadows, and then the third pillar of Mount Dana, which we climbed that. And have you ever hiked around Dana before?
I was actually right across the way at Gaylord Lakes and Granite Lake on Saturday, so I was probably
Okay.
looking across the way at you. And
Okay. Yeah.
I've hiked up Bloody Canyon. I've never gone up Dana, but I've been up Bloody Canyon, and I've been into Parker Pass and all that area. So
Okay. Yeah, it's gorgeous. You get up onto you go up for about a mile and a half. You basically hike to the peak of the pillar, and
okay,
then drop down, and you're hiking on the Dana Plateau, and like Mount Dana's right across from you. And the Dana Plateau is just beautiful. Like
Yeah, it is.
the climb's great, but like the whole day, like hiking up along the creek and then on the plateau, and then you're on the ridge looking down at Mono Lake. It's just
That's great.
fantastic. I've climbed the climb. I think this was my fourth or fifth time, and I'll do it again. You know, it's just one of
Fantastic.
those things. Yeah.
It's actually on my bucket list how many times I go up Tioga Pass and I hike all around there, but I've never actually gone all the way up. I'm
Mhm.
not a peak guy for some reason. I like river valleys and lakes, and I'll follow a river for
Sure.
14 miles up a canyon and get climb as high as I need to, right?
Yeah.
And I do love Sierra passes. So if I can find a pass and figure out a way to go, it's kind of fun to go over them. But I've never
Yeah.
really just like I'm gonna go get that peak today. It's like I don't do that.
Right. Right.
I imagine for you though, you've got experienced guys who come out and climb, they know what they're doing, but I'm really kind of keying in on those first timers. Thought process. You're climbing a 300-foot, route, and what's it like to take a first timer and see them reach a peak, if you a pinnacle, if you will, that experience that they've one done it, two they're way off the ground, three they got to let go.
Yeah.
What's that like as you as a guide?
Oh, it's just fantastic. It's super fun. Like just sharing my passion for the climbs and the area.
Mhm.
You know, I feel so fortunate to be able to live here and climb here and work here.
Yeah.
You know, I won so far.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. I feel the
Yeah,
same way.
good. Yeah, yeah. So congratulations to both of us on that. Yeah, it's just great, you know, and like it's just special that to share these experiences with people, and you know, and we break it up, you know, like on a 300-foot climb, you do it in three pitches, like a rope is 200 feet long. So you go up like the first pitch is like 125 feet, and you
Okay.
stop, and they come on up, and then you just kind of work your way up. So you know it gets a little steeper in the middle, and they get a little nervous, but then they get through, and they're just super super happy and
That's
excited.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
got to be really cool. Yeah, I bet you had some really cool stories of people overcoming, fear and just experiencing new things that probably have fed you for years. On
yeah.
that, the climbing community itself, I've never really quite broke into it. I follow a ton of climbers in Yosemite. Obviously, I'm a Yosemite nut as well. Seen a lot of movies. What is it about the climbing community and culture that is so special to you? I mean, is it you're talking about your guides and how much you love them? What is it about the community that kind of sticks out to you?
You know, for the most part, we all have the same passion, the same drive. You know, we're all outdoors people, and we get excited about sharing stories and, um, you know, hearing the day's adventures and what people have climbed. And like when I surf, especially in Southern California, it was really aggressive there. And the first time I went climbing, like really good climbers were like helping me out. And I was like, wow, you could be good at something and not be, you know, dick. I'm like, wow, it kind of
Yeah,
blew me away because I was like 17, 18 years old.
right.
So that's really nice, you know. It's just like as as a whole, I mean, in any group, there's going to be people you don't like, of course. But as a whole, everyone's super cool.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, when you're going out, I take people backpacking all the time. I took many people backpacking for the first time, and that first time out to see them, conquer the fear of sleeping at nighttime in the woods, for example, or just the fact that they hiked more miles with weight on their back than they ever thought they could. It's really pretty cool to see
Yeah,
them be able to experience, whether they ever go with me again or just it's fun to be able to be that part of their stories.
yeah,
I think
yeah, exactly.
the one thing I always think about climbers is the approach to climbing. Sometimes to me seems like the most difficult part. Like sometimes I see these pitches that guys are going, I go, man, just to walk to the base of the mountain with all the gear you had to carry had to be the worst part of the day. How bad is Lover's Leap from an approach standpoint?
Yeah, it's Lover's Leap is pretty easy.
It's pretty
So
okay. Okay.
yeah, because it's the first cliff you come to from the parking area is like 10 minutes. It's yeah, it's pretty casual. Like it's a really ideal climbing area. Um, but yeah, some approaches I climbed in the Wind Rivers. a couple of times. The first time we went in there on that same trip that brought me here, we tried making it for a month. So
Okay.
there was a 10 mile. Have you ever been to the Wind Rivers in Wyoming?
I have not. No.
It's beautiful. It's similar to the high country of the Sierra Nevada,
Okay.
big granite peaks. But like it was a 10 mile approach over some big passes, and we had a month's worth of food plus climbing gear.
Okay.
I was 22. It took us 2 days to go. It took us 2 days to go 10 miles, but that was a beat down. But once we were there, we were pretty happy. I couldn't do that now. I don't. I'd be smart and hire a horse.
Hire a horse, exactly. That's where the horse comes in. And that's really kind of funny, interesting. One of the questions I'd written down here is that Lover's Leap and Highway 50 is part of the old Pony Express route.
Yeah.
So you think before Highway 50 was ever created, this was a route that the horses and people were going through. And I don't know what the earliest climber of Lover's Leap on record is for a climber community. But I imagine that being a spot with the waterfall on the left, the rock on the right, going up that steep embankment. That'd be a place where people camped all the time. And they stopped and just, did their own recreation thing in that canyon. So that canyon to me has always spoke loudly of this must be a pretty significant place in history, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then after the Caldor fire, which you mentioned a little earlier in 2021, it burned through the leap. It was devastating.
Yeah.
Like all the bushes were gone, and so we're like, whoa, there's an old campsite. Look at that fire ring. Old horseshoes appeared, and old bottles and cans and square nails.
Interesting. Yeah.
After years ago, after a big winter on the Pony Express Trail, we found a dime from 1903. So there's a lot of history.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of history.
That's pretty cool. Now there's a camp. It's on the west side of Lover's Leap, and then there's kind of I almost want to say there's a home up above on the east side, or another campground up on top of it, and then a bike route up on the very top. Correct? I mean, like a trail.
Yeah. So just to the east of Lover's Leap, there's Camp Sacramento, which is run by the city of Sacramento. They have cabins, and it's a family camp. There's a trail that leads there. That's the easiest way to hike up Lover's Leap is parking at Camp Sacramento. And people also bike it.
Yep.
It's a hike a bike in places. It gets steep and rocky. And then down by the old slippery ford, called the Slippery Ford, because the wagon trains used to slip going across the granite slabs, crossing the river there. And then there's actually an old ski lodge down there that they started to build. That's really neat to check out. It's all cut granite, but they never finished it because just on the slope to the left of Lover's Leap, there's a little dome, and they had a rope tow back there, probably in
the 30s. Really?
Yeah. If you hike around, you can find an old Sierra Juniper with an old Ford chassis that they used to have the rope tow on.
I'm gonna have to go look around that now. That's fascinating. I actually have not been back there since the fire. Actually,
okay.
I've been up Horsetail Falls many times. Kind of funny. You look like a guy I met on top of Horsetail Falls one time. He used to run up that thing every day. That lives in Strawberry.
It probably was me. I did that a lot.
You did a lot. I think I met you on top of Horsetail Falls one day.
Yeah. It's one of my morning trains. Training things. It's one of my favorite hikes. It's got everything, right? You got the granite slab, you got the water, you got the waterfall. You get on top, you jump in the lake. And my goal,
Avalanche Lake to Ropey Lake is one of the most beautiful parts of Desolation, I think, out there. So.
Yeah, totally agree. It's fantastic. I feel so fortunate to have that. And a lot of times my goal is to get home before my coffee maker turns off.
I guarantee it was you I met on top of this mountain. I worked for the Rangers. I've climbed up that thing so many times for Desolation Wilderness, and the guy I met, I think it's you. You were going to the mountain. You said you did it every day, and you had to get home before your coffee maker went off. We met. I'm a little heavier now. I was a little skinnier back then, but.
And were you working for the Forest Service then?
Yeah, a volunteer. Yeah, so I'd go up there and clean up the lakes, and Ropey's one of my favorite lakes, and I probably had one of my buddies with me, but. That's quite funny. I'm laughing. As soon as I saw you, I go, because we haven't met. If you guys don't know, you're listening to the show. Petch and I, we communicated through social media and email. We haven't talked before. That's why this kind of conversation is so casual and just kind of going with the flow. It's kind of how I like to do it. So that's really funny. I'm almost betting it's like 2017, 2018, somewhere in there.
Classic. Yeah.
That's pretty classic. Well, you won't believe we're already at 25 minutes. I try to keep my show to 30 minutes and keep it pretty standard for the guests. We have a couple personal questions about the Sierra and recreation that we want to ask you. And I have a promo I need to run for my promo. But before we do, I want you to give you a chance just to talk about your guide service real quick, how people can get a hold of you, what they can expect. I saw you had some events coming up. So give you a few minutes to kind of lay out the land for your company and what you guys are doing this summer.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So Lovers Leap Guide, small little local guide service, been operating since 2003. We've actually done a lot of stewardship work here at the Leap, especially after the fire. So we put our heart and sweat into maintaining, and I mentioned the birds before. But yeah, we offer courses from beginning rock climbing to teaching people how to lead and place protection to be safe climbing, or we just take out families or individuals just to go climbing. We started a festival here, which happens July 12th and 13th.
I saw that, the Lovers Festival, right?
Yeah, Lovers Fest. So we do a day of stewardship on Saturday where we work on trails and clean up the campground, trim brush. Fortunately, we were already trimming bushes after the fire. It's going back that fast. And then afterwards, we go to the Strawberry Station, which is a great little store if you've never been in the Strawberry Station. Yeah, Squirrel and Jennifer are sweet people. They have backpacking gear. They have climbing gear.
Yeah.
And they stock good food, beer, wine, whatever, sodas, and good coffee. Then we go back and have a barbecue there. We have live music. And then Sunday, we're offering free clinics for people to come on.
That's fantastic. I may have to come out and join you on that. Take some photos and stuff. That'd be pretty cool to do.
Yeah, it would be.
That's a neat festival. Well, congratulations on running a successful business in the Tahoe area for so long, and I can tell you really enjoy what you do, and I'm sure that rubs off on everybody who gets to come join you. I mean, I don't know if you have guests that have come back year over year to climb here. That kind of seems like that kind of.
We have a good crew of regulars, which is sweet. It says we're doing something right?
Absolutely. Well, you guys are just over an hour from the Carson Valley, our home base here in the Minden. If you give me just a second, I want to give them a quick shout out and a little promo here. Carson Valley is our sponsor, and we can't do this without them. So please enjoy this video. And there is some rock climbing in our area, just south of town. So you can come over and go rock climbing here too. But
I've climbed just outside of Carson City, kind of above the old Carson Valley Hot Springs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good place, right? So, I bet you've been all over the place. So it's so fun to hear about your company and talk about Lovers Leap. But we got 3 questions we ask all of our guests. They're all about you and the Sierra or your gear. Okay, so let's say your bag is packed behind you. You have the weekend off, and you can go anywhere in the Sierra to go climbing you want to go. Where are you going climbing and why? You don't have to climb if you climb every day. You can go just on vacation if you want to.
Well, I have issues. I have to climb all the time. But somewhere in the High Sierra, I really like the Hoover Wilderness behind Twin Lakes. There's a formation out there called the Incredible Hulk, which is off a little slide.
I know where you're at. Yeah, I heard.
It's really beautiful. The rock is impeccable. So that would be definitely one of the spots. And then also the high country of Tuolumne Meadows is one of my favorites.
You can't go wrong. Tuolumne Meadows. It's one of my favorite places on earth. Absolutely. So fantastic. All right. So, if you get done with a day of climbing and you've been out all day long with guest stuff, what's the go-to grub that you have to have after a long day of climbing?
Popcorn.
Popcorn? Really? You like flavored popcorn, just like butter?
That's the appetizer, some good popcorn with butter, a little salt, and nutrition.
I like it. Yeah. You're my first popcorn guy. Actually, I'll take that back. I had somebody who backpacked with popcorn. He takes his popcorn out backpacking. I go, you seriously carry enough to go? I blew me away as a backpacker.
That's great.
That's awesome. And then finally, we're all gearheads in some way. Now you're going to have obviously rope gear, but what's the piece of gear you never leave home without? It's like, I just don't leave home without this piece of gear.
Yeah, my climbing shoes and chalk
Your climbing
pads.
shoes, okay?
Yeah.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm a paper map guy. I like my paper map, so I
Oh
tend to
yeah.
have one wherever I'm going. So
Yeah, that's smart.
just so I can
Yeah.
find a canyon to crawl up. So, well,
Yeah.
hey, it was awesome to talk to you today. I hope our guests enjoyed the show. You guys can find out more about them. Again, it's loversleap.net. So not .com, but .net. There's lots of information about their guide services there. Petch, I'm going to have to come out and meet you and maybe come do climbing with you. Like I said, I'm a big guy, but I don't really have any fear against it. Just never done it.
Yeah,
But
you should come on out. It's fun, and yeah, give me a shout when you come out to the Strawberry area, and
you got
stop
it.
in at the store, and I'll sit on
I tell
down.
you, I'm going to email you. I might come out to your Lovers Festival just to take some pictures and meet some people. That'd be kind of cool. So,
Yeah.
wherever you're at, folks, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for being part of the Sierra story. We loved hearing Petch's part of the Sierra story. We hope you're having a great summer wherever you're at. Join us next week for another great show. Please like, subscribe, do all that stuff. It just helps us tremendously. But overall, we hope you have a blessed day wherever you're at.
All right.